Hi, I'm Marnie Becker, and I've recently had the privilege of serving as the entry judge for the 2020 Adirondacks National Exhibition of American Watercolors at the View in Old Forge, New York. This judging took place online, but actually the show is going to be held, so you will be able to see these paintings in person. We're very lucky to have that because many shows are not being shown except online this year. So my background as an artist started about 10 years ago after another career that didn't involve art at all. And I mainly focused on portraits, impressionist portraits. And I had the privilege of taking with lessons and workshops with some amazing teachers where I learned great foundations of painting, art, and specifically portrait painting. One of my portraits was recently featured in Splash 19, I think. And so that's what I've mostly been working on. And yet recently I have made an attempt to move toward a more abstract philosophy. And my paintings reflect that even in the portraits and in urban scenes that I paint. They're more color block. They're not detail specific. And I'm hoping that this allows the viewer to be able to create their own story about the painting, but also linger longer to see what's going on and not have everything given right away to the viewer. So in judging the entry for the Adirondack watercolor show, I look for elements of design, elements that make a good painting, and those are composition, color, light and shadow. Light is very important to me. I do believe that this is an Emerson quote, that there is nothing that intense light cannot make more beautiful. And also contrast, different kinds of contrast that create tension. That could be hard and soft edges, light and dark colors, the tension of not following the specifics of how to compose a painting. All of these are things that make me want to stay in that painting and linger in it much longer. In judging the show, it was very difficult to choose 80 or so paintings because there were so many good paintings. And I'd like to say to those of you that didn't get in, please don't stop, because I think giving up is the worst thing you can do. I still get many rejections, and one time it'll happen. So I don't know if I mentioned this all, but I was very fortunate to get signature status in the American Watercolor Society in 2019. And it's from perseverance, so don't give up. So I think I'm going to talk about a few of the paintings that I really liked. And the first one is just a very pastoral scene of someone fishing. And that looks very simple, but the rules of composition here are pretty much in evidence. The painting is broken into 3 top, middle, and lower edges. Also, the figure in there is off to the side, which is it's another rule of composition. And I just like the feeling that it gave me of being very calm, and that's why I chose that to be entered. Another one that I really like is a portrait, and this portrait is of a young woman, and it's just very soft, and the light is so reflective in it that it's hard not to want to stay in that. So that was very interesting for me. I loved it. The next one would have been an abstract where the hands are held in front of the face, and it's really not that unusual, but the way they treated it, there are a lot of different effects in paintings these days, but this one was just a pretty simple effect, and the color was very just analogous colors in it, and that drew me to it. It's very hot. The light on that is very hot. The abstract piece I chose in tones of gray, but they're blue-gray, and they have in them little orange pieces that stick out, and there's a nice diagonal going through that painting that really doesn't cut it in half, but takes you back through the painting. There's also light and dark and shadow that is the hues are very beautiful. One more that I wanted to see was a painting of a boat pulling in by some old buildings in the harbor. Very beautiful shading. That's all. Very simple, shaker style homes with white, but the blue shadows really make this painting. And hopefully you'll get to see it and see these paintings in person. And I'm very interested to see what the awards judge will do.
I'm really honored to be chosen as the Juror Awards for this show. This is a wonderful watercolor show. I've been exhibiting in this show for over 20 years. Some years I get in, some years I don't. But it's one of my favorite watercolor shows. And when I first started showing it for Adirondack National, it was in the old building across the street. And this new space is just absolutely wonderful. I think it's one of the nicest galleries to exhibit an art show that I've seen. I'm from Rochester originally, New York, and I went to high school in Rochester and studied watercolor in high school. That was my first watercolor experience. And I had a great teacher. It really got the flame lit. 50 years later, it's still burning brightly. I started out as a landscape painter. I did that for quite a few years. My style's sort of gotten more intimate, taking subjects, like pieces of subjects, and sort of focusing in with a thought about composition, values, to make an interesting composition with a subject, but almost not really knowing quite what the subject is. It's really difficult to judge a show for awards, I think. This one was tough because there were so many good paintings that it was really hard to narrow down to what awards are. I look for composition, value, content, emotional response. I like things that are a little bit unique and unusual, out of the ordinary. I love a good abstract painting. And I certainly had my choice of picks here. There's just a great variety of work to choose from. Well, we can start with the one that's on the easel. I'm very much a realist painter, but I really appreciate a well-done abstract, and I feel this painting here is extremely well done. I admire painters that can pull off a good abstract painting because they're really painting on just intuition and knowledge of composition values and that. And this one really has a lot of really good elements to it. The vertical format automatically creates a sense of excitement, drama, and this painting has it in spades. I love the diagonal movement, primarily from upper right to lower left. I love the variation of the shapes. Watercolor, a lot of watercolor painting, especially as it's just about painting shapes, but you've got this nice dark shape here, and then this narrower light shape. Right away you've got this great contrast. And then these smaller, thin, linear shapes are really nice because you've got large, broad shapes, smaller shapes, and then you've got these smaller linear shapes. I think the whole thing is tied together really nicely just by the shapes that you chose. I really like the neutral color scheme. It's basically black and white shades of gray, but when you put a red line in like that, it just really pops out. It's really it just adds a little bit of excitement to the composition. There's different patterning in here. You've got just a basic watercolor wash with a brush done here, but then in here you see all these things that, I'm not really sure what she used. She may have used other things than a brush to achieve this kind of texture, but it's really interesting, and it's a painting I could look at for a long time and probably never. I probably would find something exciting in it every time I looked at it. It's a really wonderful piece. The other thing that I did today was when we chose the award-winning paintings and we had them in the first row, I stepped back and it's nice to get close to a painting, but I think you can see a lot when you step back, and even from this distance. The paintings that really have a great sense of values really stand out. They really pop out from a distance, and they tend to draw me in. And this one certainly did. This painting here is another one. If I were to walk into a gallery or a room and I saw this painting on the wall, just the way it's composed and the contrast, the values, I would just be drawn to walk right over to it and look at it. And it not only reads from looking at it up close, but it reads from a distance too. And I love this has a little more color, but it's not overdone with color. There's just enough color to make it interesting. But he still relies on, it's a lot of shapes. I love these overlapping shapes up here. Great darks, great contrast. I love how the whites, the patterning too here, it just, it's like climbing a ladder. You just go right up through the painting with this, these light patterns just sort of guide me through the painting. Yeah, it's really another really wonderful piece. It's funny, if you look at it really close, it sort of becomes more abstract. When you look at it from a distance, probably from about where you are, you can really tell what it is. Yeah. When I judge a show, I do I scan the work quickly to begin with. But elements like this, things, compositionally and values that would, even just looking at it quickly, it makes me want to come in and look at it again, because the word I'm trying to is impact. This painting has a lot of impact, as does the other abstract. And I think that's important. Your painting needs to have immediate impact for the viewer, something that will draw the judge or the viewer right in. I looked at the title of this painting, and the title's Rough Neighborhood. But when I look at this painting, I get a feeling of serenity and calm. I think part of it has to do with it's a landscape format. Generally, paintings like this that are in this type of format, especially if it's a landscape type of painting, which this is, gives a feeling of calmness, where the two previous paintings, the vertical format gives more of a feeling of drama and excitement. So it's a completely different emotional response to this, but I love looking at a painting and feeling calm, even though the title's Rough Neighborhood. The other thing that I really, being a watercolorist for almost 50 years, the skill level is just incredible in this painting. To be able to do a wash as smooth and as flawless and with such a large area, it really takes a lot of skill. I look at these things when I look at paintings, because I know how difficult it is it's just the sky, but to get that result with a watercolor wash, it's really quite challenging, and it's a mark of a really exceptional painter that can pull this off. Again, value composition is really important, and this painting has everything that that I was looking for. Really well composed painting, great composition. Your eye travels freely through the painting. Even looking at it from a distance, these diagonals of the roofs just bring you right into the heart of the painting, which is right where you want to go. It's very subtle as far as coloring goes. It's mostly neutrals, but if you look carefully at it, you can see some really nice colors. There's a nice hint of red here, and then there's a little bit of blue here. But other than that, the colors are very subdued, and I really like that. He says a lot with a little, meaning that this suggestion here of scrub, it almost looks like it's in the desert. It's not overdone, it's just right. It's very suggestive, but it really works. And if you look at it from a distance, you really can tell exactly, the setting. These are some houses probably in the desert somewhere, in some forgotten town, but it's very evocative. I love the dark shadows here. Look at how dark he gets his. That's also a fairly difficult thing to do in watercolor. Watercolor is such a transparent medium to build up and get these really strong dark values is really hard to do, I think, and very well done. I love the shadowing. I love the colors that he puts in his shadows, the blues and the reds. Very subtle again, but very effective, I think. A wonderful piece. There were so many good paintings in this exhibition, and there just weren't enough awards. But congratulations to everybody that got in the show, and it's like a crapshoot sometimes, picking awards. But there were some really wonderful paintings that did not get awards that I just want to say there. I think getting into the show is like getting an award. It's a very competitive show, and it always is. I think the quality is always top notch, and it's a pleasure to be here, and I'm honored to be the Juror of Awards.